I think we're ready to start. And welcome to everyone, and particularly welcome to Maeve Curtin from Social Enterprise World Forum, who will take us through the verification scheme that Social Enterprise World Forum offers for social enterprises, and also say a bit about advantages and why it could be useful for you to, as a Danish social enterprise, to be verified the social enterprise after this scheme and become part of a global community. So thank you very much for being with us, and I also will say that the program is for 1.5 hours, so there's a short break before we go into the real work where you're trying to fill in the application, and we'll get help to do this. And as Maeve started to say, any time after this workshop that you have questions or stuff you want to ask about, you can just contact us, send me an email, and we will forward it to Maeve, so questions will be taken care of. And thank you for being here, Maeve, and the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and thank you for organizing this. I'm really happy to be here today to talk with you all about SEWF's verification, about why we developed the program, and what benefits it might bring to you. I've just at the beginning put the verification email for SEWF in the chat. It's just verify@SEWFonline.com. So if you do have any questions, follow up before or after, you can get in touch with the entire team. It's a small team, and saying entire team probably makes it sound like it's this big, huge operation. But there are a few different people working on it. And one thing that I think is really exciting about verification is that we have 38 different partners in countries around the world. So this truly is a global program, and something that we're really using to try to strengthen kind of the national or international identity of social enterprise, and the strength that the movement can collectively have if we're able to self-organize and identify what it might mean to be a social enterprise on a global scale. So I prepared a few slides, and I will make sure that you all can get a copy of these afterwards as well. Oh gosh, I had it ready, and then here we go. Okay, so hopefully we will be able to start presenting these soon. Does that look okay to everyone? Yes, okay, thank you. So as I was saying, SEWF decided to develop this verification program that was affordable and accessible to social enterprises around the world, because we really want to be able to work with international partners and institutions to expand funding, pro bono and discounted services, and also social procurement opportunities to social enterprises that are mission locked, and that are really kind of the social enterprises that are at the core of the movement. So what this slide kind of covers, and again, I won't go through all the text, but it talks about what I think SEWF would identify as this movement from big tent engagement, where we wanted to kind of be engaging with nonprofits, with businesses that had a little bit of a social mission, and slowly start to verify and certify the true social enterprises that have locked in their mission, that have said our primary purpose is for some social or environmental reason. And our ownership structure is structured such that that mission is at the core of the business. If anything happens to the enterprise, that mission is locked in, so it's not going to become a private business. Any assets that have been built up aren't going to be distributed for financial gain, but they're going to be put back in the community. It's going to be used for the initial mission that the business was designed to support. And by doing this, by kind of saying, okay, we've been trying to get people to sort of move into the social enterprise movement in the social enterprise sphere, and now say, okay, we have this big tent, we have this huge collection of people who support social enterprise, who may identify as social enterprises, and may or may not be social enterprises, but to actually go through and check governing documents and check financial statements. We're going to be enabling organizations who want to better support social enterprises. So this is mostly private sector and public sector businesses and governments, to set policies and practices and develop programs that will better support your organization. So the big, I guess, ultimate why would you become verified is because if you are a mission locked social enterprise operating in Denmark, but someone, either whether that's a government partner or that's a business, wants to potentially buy more products from social enterprises, or just a consumer living anywhere who wants to engage with more social enterprises, they want some sort of level of confidence and certainty that when they're buying from your goods or services or engaging with you, that you are in fact a true social enterprise, that we're eliminating the risk of greenwashing and social washing, because as we've seen, it's trendy to be doing something for the community and in the environment. And social enterprises have been doing this work forever. And we want to make sure that social enterprises and your organizations are getting that recognition they deserve. So we're hoping that this is kind of a light touch way that you can get that recognition on a global scale. This slide lists our verification standards, and I touched on some of those already. At the core of it, it's about the mission, that your social enterprise has a primary social or environmental mission, that it's controlled in the interests of your mission, so that ownership is important, that it's community owned, but it's if there are shareholders, it's not the majority of the company is receiving shares, that you are ethical and transparent about the way that you're running your business. So you're not using harmful or damaging products. You're trying to strive for low pay differentials, some of these things. We talk about surplus, so investing the majority of surpluses in pursuit of mission. This could be pumping funds back into employment. If you're running a work integration social enterprise or something, and you're paying for salaries for those who are facing barriers to employment. We also talk about, when it comes to financials, we talk about income, and social enterprises generating the majority of their income from trade. We have a distinction here around operating income and income around capital projects. So if you're trying to expand your enterprise and you've raised a lot of money to build a new premises or a new kitchen or something, that is not something we would count. We also recognize that kind of in the early startup stage, and the slide says 2 to 3 years, but we're flexible on that it may not be possible. And you may be a little bit more grant reliant. So we say 51%, but again, our team will work with you to figure out, whether or not that the important thing is that there is ambition to be trading there, because that is one of the very distinguishing factors from a charity or just a normal not-for-profit organization, is that you are trading to achieve your mission. And then again, that this mission is locked in. And I'll go through slides later and talk about what we would expect to see in your governing documents in terms of mission lock. But this is something that we can work with you on to make sure that if, for example, your actual mission, your social environmental mission, it might be on your website, it may be at the core of what you're doing, but your actual registration document that you use to set up your business might not have that language in it. Well, we can work with you and be flexible around making sure that you have enough time to get that into your incorporated documents, and still be verified and gain some of the benefits there. So the process that we've developed, if you meet these standards, and again, we have a quiz online that you can use to check that you meet the standards, and I can also answer individual questions or talk through things with you about whether or not you do meet these standards. I do want to be clear that You can still be a social enterprise without meeting these standards. There are definitely some variations in definitions in countries and regions. What SEWF tried to do was come up with something that we thought was the most comprehensive and flexible that we could, that would cover basically most of the models we see as social enterprises around the world, and worked with a lot of intermediary partners to figure out what those standards could be. So we recognize that there are some variations in the European Commission definition, that there are some variations in the way that other organizations identify social enterprises. These are our standards, but again, there's flexibility, and it's not, if you don't have this in your document, we're not going to verify you. We're going to look at the full situation and figure out how we can get you access to these opportunities without compromising sort of the integrity of the verification and the standards. So the first thing you need to do is just make sure you're eligible. But the caveat there is, the second thing is that there's a good market application. And that's what we're primarily going to focus on doing today, is getting you through the good market process. And the exciting thing is that even if it turns out actually maybe SEWF verification isn't right for you or your organization right now, good market still brings you a lot of benefits. So you get listed on this international marketplace. It doesn't take that long to fill out the application. It's about 20 to 40 minutes. You can advertise events. You can advertise and list products and link to any sort of store, online store you may already have. So it's just giving your social enterprise a little bit more visibility, and that's exciting. And you can be listed as part of the Social Entrepreneurship in Denmark network page as well, which I'll show you on the next slide. And then finally, you'll upload basically 2 documents. So your financial documents and your governing documents, which is kind of your legal registration document. And you'll sign a social enterprise commitment, but it's all going to be done on Good Market. So you don't have to send lots of emails. You just create one account and you do this on Good Market. And the reason we use Good Market is because it's free to use. It's very accessible. There are over 2,000 enterprises from nearly 80 countries who are already using it. And it really works to support networks. So at the top, you'll see the page for the Denmark network, the network in Denmark. And on the bottom, you see an example of what it might look like once a lot of social enterprises in Denmark start signing up. This is a network page. So you'll see those little 8 squares, basically. Your social enterprises will show up there, and this will be accessible internationally for anyone to sort of get a flavor for the social enterprise space in Denmark. So it's a good kind of publicity and recognition thing for your social enterprise. And it integrates with a lot of other tools and platforms. So it can just be kind of a nice way to amplify your message and be part of a community. You'll get an additional certificate for being Good Market approved. And it's also what we use to check kind of the ethics standard for SEWF verification. And this keeps our costs really low because we don't have to, and makes sort of the burden on you for uploading and demonstrating different things around your social enterprise status a little bit lower, because it's just this application and then 2 other documents. So I already mentioned this at the beginning, kind of why you might get involved. So I think at the core, right, it's about being part of this larger community. It's about internally from within the social enterprise sector saying, we can better advocate for policies at the continental or regional or national, but especially the national level, if we are collectively using similar language, if we can demonstrate the size and scale of social enterprise in not just particular countries, so not just using the European Social Enterprise Monitor, but also looking at the scope and scale of social enterprises internationally, it becomes a stronger argument for why governments or why big multinational corporations should really pay attention and engage with social enterprises as a critical component and sector of our global economy. And what's really interesting is that, and exciting, I guess, for me, is that SEWF has been working with lots of partners behind the scenes to negotiate things like pro bono and discounted services. So working with partners like eBay to see, okay, can we get free stores? Could you develop training programs? Think organizations like Shopify. How can we better support social enterprises by giving them discounts that may already be available to not-for-profit organizations, but that social enterprises haven't had access to. So a lot of these conversations are ongoing, and I will be transparent with you and say that part of the, if you're negotiating with a big tech company and saying, well, look at all these social enterprises who we have verified, wouldn't it be great if you could demonstrate the impact you were having on these organizations by offering free or discounted, like, suite services for your technology platform? They want to see that we have a lot verified. So we do also need to kind of get people onto the platform and get them through the process in order to negotiate some of these opportunities, particularly the really exciting ones at the high level. But what I will say is we have a lot of organizations that are excited about buying from social enterprises or supporting social enterprises through sort of bespoke programs that they would develop to strengthen your business and your organization. And I'm happy to talk about, answer slightly more specific questions about what that might be. But when we're having these conversations, we're constantly thinking about, okay, what do businesses need and what might help them achieve their mission more efficiently while saving costs so they can do more of the work supporting the communities and the people that they are designed to support. So the next thing I wanted to cover, but I'm conscious of time and that we're kind of now in the section that at least we had said we would start taking questions, was around the documents you will need to upload for SEWF verification. So what I think I might do is just pause here for a second and see if there are any immediate questions around why SEWF developed our verification system, kind of what the steps are with good market and what our standards are and where there may be some flexibility. So if you have any questions about stuff like that, I'm going to stop sharing if I can figure out how to stop sharing. So I think I've stopped sharing now, and we'll go back to the slides in a second, but I want to see if there are any questions first around verification, and then we'll go back to some of the slides, take a break, and then actually start the process of doing the good market applications. So does anyone have any questions so far? Yeah, Tanya, I think.
Yeah, hi. Very interesting. I have an organic farm, and okay. I'm helping people to go back to work or education, and we are using this organic farm work to help these people. My problem, or what I can see, that is that the demand is a lot bigger than what I can deliver. You know, we are really in time, and a lot of companies would like to have our beautiful vegetables and our what we have, but I cannot. I'm in the world to help people, you know, and all the machines and the buildings and everything. They are not actually. I need a lot of investment capital to actually. To deliver to the market. Yes, and the demand is there, and I would like to do that a lot, but you know, it's very difficult to earn that much money, so I can invest to develop my organic farm. So I don't know how can I would like to be a part of this, and I do want to trade. Because we're living from that too, but I don't know how I sell everything what I have.
Yeah. So what, if I'm understanding your question, I'm not sure. So is it more about whether or not you would meet the standards because of how much income you have coming in for trade.
No,
so,
not what I have an income, but how I can be a part of this if I'm not able to deliver deliver the goods, so to speak.
Yeah. So I think what you're talking about a little bit is more those B2B sales. So businesses coming to you and saying, like, whether it's a restaurant or it's an organization that wants to integrate you into their catering ventures or whatever, they want to access your products and services. But in order to scale up the way you want to, you need more capital to do that. You need some investment. And so far, that's been challenging. So my answer for you is actually that this is a perfect opportunity for that challenge, because what a lot of investors want to see, and when I talk about the benefits, it is organizations saying we want to buy from social enterprises. So it is social procurement. And it's organizations saying we just want to support them. So we want to give them free legal services, or we want to discount, I don't know, your email platform or something like that.
All right.
Another huge component to it is investment in finance. And investors who want to give sort of unrestricted funding or want to develop like social finance and investment programs still want to see that the organizations they're either giving big grants to or that they're actually giving sort of investments with some level of expected return to are bona fide social enterprises. So what we hope, and some of the benefits that we're working with investors to negotiate, is that by becoming an SEWF Verified Social Enterprise and taking your farm through that process, if you do have those ambitions to scale, then that'll give you access to international funders who maybe hadn't thought about the Danish market before because it was harder for them to identify social enterprises in that context, or they just didn't know where to start because there is no global registry, but that they might be very interested in organic farming. And also, you're sort of working with people who have barriers to employment. So for certain investors, that would check a lot of boxes. So for anyone who's in that category, and I think this is the cool thing about SEWF verification, it's not just about social procurement. So we're not saying only become verified if you're already, trading at scale and can, do contracts that are huge. There will be benefits for social enterprises at every stage. And also, combined with that, we're working with some organizations that can also provide training around scale. So you could work with industry experts who have developed or scaled smaller farms and get them sort of as part of that package, not just financial support, but also kind of more wraparound support. So a long answer, but this is something for you for sure.
Yeah. Oh, nice to hear. Thanks.
If you, and I see Kristen asked, Tanya, did that answer your question, or is there anything else? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Kristen asked a question in the chat. And I apologize if I'm mispronouncing anyone's name. Please correct me as well. About if you're registered in Denmark as a social enterprise, if that's a benefit for the application. What I will say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Per, but in conversations, I have understood it to be that you can register as a social enterprise in Denmark, but that national registry isn't necessarily being checked, or there isn't sort of the same level of due diligence. So yes, Kristen and anyone else on this call, you can absolutely indicate that on your application that you are registered as a social enterprise in Denmark. And when we go through the good market application, there will be a place for you to indicate that you are, and it will show up in your good market profile. But in terms of the actual document check that SEWF will be doing, it won't necessarily benefit or hurt you. So if you are, that's great. If you aren't, that's fine as well, as long as we see kind of evidence of your mission and we can see through your financial documents what money is coming in and where it's going out. That indicates you are operating as a social enterprise. That's what's going to matter to us more than you have this registration. If there was more regulation around the social enterprise status in Denmark, then it might matter a little bit more. But as we understand it, it's kind of a self-declaration rather than something that someone else has verified.
Maybe maybe I can add that we think actually that the benefit of being registered, of being verified by a social enterprise world forum, is that you would actually get a verification or a stamp here where you have a live program, you have something that is being developed, you have something that is actually being checked. So actual live people are sitting reading your documents that you send in, and this is not happening in the Danish registration scheme. It's a scheme where everything is more or less automated, and you cannot be sure that who registers is actually also a social enterprise. But in this scheme, you can be sure that the people listed with a SEWF verification is actually, I'm sorry for the pronunciation, by the way, is actually a social enterprise. So that's why we try to promote this scheme to have actually a program that is giving strength and is being developed and is being also followed up and checked on.
Thank you for adding to that, Per. Do we have any other questions? And there'll be more further opportunities for questions as well before I return to the slides. It's just a little bit harder for me to see if people add in the chat or raise their hands while I'm going through the slides. So I wanted to pause now. No? Okay, well then I will continue. Sorry, you would think that by now I would be much better at transitioning back and forth between presentations. So we are here. So what we're going to be doing in the second half of this presentation and webinar together is actually doing your good market application. So the good market application itself involves you answering questions about your social enterprise. At the end of the good market application, it goes to the good market team to be approved. And once that is approved, then you're invited to upload your documents for SEWF verification. I fully expect that everyone's application will be approved. There won't be any issues, but I just want you to know that you won't be able to upload your documents right now, but I'm going to run through these slides because it'll give you a chance to get those things ready so that in a week or so, once your application has been approved and the SEWF team gets back in contact with you, you already kind of know what you need to upload. So the first thing is a copy of your governing or legal registration document. So this is what you would have used if you're registered as a social enterprise with the government. Like it would just be sort of that registration document. A copy of your recent financial accounts and your profit and loss and balance sheet. So basically it's your current financial statements and your preceding one. So whatever your past tax year, your past company's accounts, and then the current profit and loss and balance sheet for the organization. So it's kind of two documents for the financial component. And then we also ask that online within Good Market, you sign a social enterprise commitment. And that's where you just basically attest that you do meet the 6 standards for our verification. So it's just an additional check. When you sign this commitment, it also helps us because, say, for example, you don't have like a mission lock language in your legal or registration document, but you're signing this commitment and you're telling us that over the next year, you're going to work with the proper people to get it put in to your documents, because we understand that altering company documents takes a long time. Well, then we can verify you now because you've signed the commitment and you're working to incorporate some of this language into your actual documents, even if it may not necessarily be there right now. So that's part of the reason why we have that commitment. So these slides are very heavily wordy. So again, I'll just make sure you get them afterwards. But it runs through kind of what we're expecting to see in your bylaws or your articles of incorporation. So we want to see that there's a clear mission statement that your farm or your community kitchen or your crafts business or whatever type of organization you're running is designed for social or environmental impact, and that your social enterprise is working to address them. We would also like to see that there's a commitment to reinvest your surplus, so that it's actually in your documents that you say your business will be reinvesting at least the half of any sort of additional surplus you get. And I said at the beginning, this can be like right back into the organization. So if you're training individuals who may face barriers to employment, and 80% of your organization's money is being spent on their training and their salaries, well, that's reinvestment for us as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be 50% of the surplus goes to a not-for-profit organization or to a charity or something, as long as you can demonstrate it's not being paid out for private gain and it's going back into the community and into the mission. We also need to see the ownership structure. So some of this is evident by the way that your organization is registered. If you're registered as a non-for-profit, well then, yes, the organization is community owned, and by nature of your legal structure, we know that the money is going to be reinvested. So sometimes legal structure gives us the mission, the surplus reinvestment, and the clear ownership, which is the third thing we're looking for. The fourth one, that is often the one we have the most challenges with, which is why we have this long example down at the bottom, is around mission lock. And we think that this is really important because we want that the mission of social enterprises to be protected if the organization gets acquired by someone else, if you have to close down the business, or if there was going to be a significant change in leadership or management. And we think this is important because as leaders of social enterprises, you want to protect the organization that you've worked to develop and ensure that nothing's going to happen to sort of the mission and why you established the organization. And so there are many ways in which you can lock in the mission. And we can send additional resources around this if that's necessary or needed. You can also talk to legal experts like Trust Law, which has an international branch who can help advise on some of these things. But SEWF can as well, or we can direct you to some of our partners who may be able to work with you to integrate some of this language into your documents. If you're a not-for-profit or a charity or something, a lot of this is already integrated into your legal structure, but for some business structures, it's a little more complicated. And then for the financial accounts and documents, this is just a list of everything that we like to see. You can create kind of an additional top sheet or something for us, but you don't have to do that. You can just send us your account statements that get submitted, because we operate under the assumption that most of this information will be there anyway. And again, I'll make sure you all have a copy of these slides, so you can just double check that when whatever documents you'll be uploading cover these things. If you miss out anything, that's okay too. We'll come back to you and tell you, can you send us more information about this, or can you upload additional documentation? So it's not like if the documents are incomplete the first time, you won't be verified. We'll work with you to get you through the process. And that is it, which is good, because we're right on time then. Does anyone have any additional questions about what is sort of required with those documents after the good market application when you upload, what we're looking for to verify that you are a social enterprise in the context of the 6 SEWF standards? And if they come to you later, so this is a good question. So around, Kristen asked about, I guess for the benefit of the recording, if the reports and documents, so if your registration or your financial reports are in Danish, does it need to be translated? And the answer is no, it doesn't. Right now, we've been able to develop a partnership with other sort of international organizations. I mentioned Trust Law is one of them, and we're also working with, we have some arrangements where in-country partners will help translate documents, and SEWF is training those partners to help with the review. So part of our commitment to affordability and accessibility is so that you don't have to translate documents, because we understand that can be a huge barrier. So no, go ahead and upload the documents as they are. Know that if they are in Danish and you don't have them in English, you don't need to translate them. It just may take a little bit longer for us to work with our partners, because it's not the SEWF team directly. It's people who we're liaising with and who we have trained, and where we need to maybe go back and translate and just do some additional checks. So it won't change anything for you, except it might just take a little bit longer to get that through. But hopefully it still means that the system is accessible and you don't have to pay for expensive translation costs. It's a good question. Something that also might be relevant is through the end of September, we're still in the pilot phase of trying to get as many different people on and integrated into the platform, and figuring out how this works with, especially when we do need to translate documents or work with lawyers in Denmark, for example, to double check that, the way that the reports are written meet our standards. And so it's free through the end of September. So if your documents get uploaded before September 30th, it's going to be of no cost to you. And after that, it's £70 for the initial verification. So there is some motivation to do the good market application and upload the documents. If the delay is on our end, basically, so, it could take up to a month to have some of our partners go through the documents when it's not in English. And our turnaround time might be more like a week or 2 weeks, depending on how many applications we're trying to work our way through at any given time. Don't worry if your verification doesn't come through until October 10th or something. As long as we had the documents in September, it still comes under that pilot phase.